Hello and welcome to Qsports. I'm Umudu Gajaga and thank you for joining us. Coming up in this edition, we're going to talk about the Sports Journalist Day. International Sports Journalist Day was celebrated by sports journalists in the Gambia last Saturday. And at the event, there were talks about the evolution of the Gambian press back in the 1970s, the 1980s, and up to the 90s. And veteran journalist Tijan Masani Sise gave us an insight into how sports journalism was like and how it has evolved today. We'll also be looking at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, which is currently on the way in Morocco. There have been some very exciting games. Zambia played against Senegal in a thrilling match, which ended 3-2 for Zambia. They won the game by 3-0 in a very close affair. We'll also be looking at the other game, which is Morocco against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Another fantastic game. And talking about Gambian athletics, Sengan Job is a Gambian athlete currently based in France who has been representing the Gambia since 2015. He talks about how being injured as an athlete has affected his career and coming back from injury to get his shape and competing again. This is Qsports. I'm Umudu Gajaga. Let's begin with the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia, who commemorated International Sports Journalist Day. Well, journalists in the Gambia who practicing sports reporting came together with veterans to talk about some of how journalism evolved in the Gambia as far as sports reporting is concerned across the board. And we had some very prominent persons at the commemoration. The likes of Tijan Masane Sise, who is a veteran broadcaster, talks about how the Gambian media landscape evolved as far as sports reporting is concerned. He gave a statement, and also there are some other members who were there. The likes of Musa Sise, who is currently the Secretary General of the AIPS Africa, that is the International Sports Press Association version of the African side. He was also former president of the Gambia Sports Journalists Association. And as well, we also had another one, that is former Gambia Under-20 coach Matar Mboj and also assistant coach of the national team. How journalism has shaped his career as a coach, especially in the Gambia, getting into the national team and later on having successes with the Gambia Under-20 team. And now he has gone international, coaching somewhere in the United States of America and also in Denmark. We'll be looking at that story in this report. Sports journalism in the Gambia has undergone a remarkable transformation over the past 5 decades, from relying on heavy equipment for radio commentary at the Box Bar Stadium and enduring lengthy processes to prepare reports for broadcast or print newspapers, to facing transport challenges for covering international competitions, all leading up to the convenience of today's digital era. Veteran sports broadcaster Tijan Masane Sise shared an experience covering a basketball tournament in Bamako, Mali in 1984, where he recorded daily reports for Radio Gambia, only to later discover they were never aired.
Mayor James Gomez, who was at the time the president of the Gambia Basketball Federation, flew into Bamako to bring Sadauda's trophy at the very tail end of the tournament. And where did we learn that none of our reports have come into Banjul? It was through James Gomez. So that doesn't happen in this day and age. Today I could sit at Stade Omnisport in Bamako and call a basketball game live via Facebook Live.
Musa Sise, a veteran sports journalist, is the former president of the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia and currently served as the Secretary General of AIPS Africa, which is Africa's wing of the International Sports Press Association, AIPS. With over a decade of experience covering the Gambian national football team in Europe, he has worked at Radio Seed and West Coast Radio. Cisse reflected on the evolution of sports reporting in the country, highlighting changes in equipment, reporting mediums, and venues.
By then, you only have the conventional media, it's just radio and the newspapers. Newspapers were not, coming daily. There was no daily newspaper, none. Radios, Radio Gambia, Radio Seed, even to have it covered fully, the 90 minutes match was a problem.
With the digital transformation, sports reporting has shifted dramatically from traditional radio and newspaper coverage to live updates, broadcast, real-time scores, photos, and moments shared instantly on social media. Omar Jajo is the president of the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia.
Sports journalism is not just about reporting scores and game highlights, but it's about capturing the emotions, the struggles and the triumphs of athletes and teams. It's about shining a light on the important issues and controversies within the field of sports.
Kajali Sanko, Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Information, and Serif Sedikan, Vice President of the Gambia Press Union, highlighted the important roles sports journalists play in shaping sports development and assured them of their institution's support.
We look at capacity gap and make sure that you are well trained to become professionals, and also look at resource constraints.
We've seen and witnessed the remarkable work that our Gambian sports journalists have done.
Senior journalist Famara Fofana advised journalists to prioritize accuracy over speed, warning that when fake news about players and clubs circulates online, the public relies on journalists for truth. He emphasized that journalists cannot afford to make mistakes and urged them to avoid the pitfalls of sensationalism and the pressure to report first at the expense of accuracy.
The national team, and they've already introduced and said that I've spoken, that I've worked abroad as well as a professional coach. My journey has been shaped by people who are in this room. I can say, in terms of the work that I've done as a coach, of course, it's been augmented and the value has been added by journalists who are in this room. Sports journalists. I talk about, Farman already said it, when I first came to the Gambia, I worked in GRTS with an analysis, and he wrote an article, and it was a masterpiece. And why do I remember it as a masterpiece? It wasn't just praising. There was constructive criticism. And maybe he knows it, maybe he doesn't know, but I use that article as motivation to go and do my work. That's where that number one starts. Musa Cisse has already been here. He didn't know me. He just said, oh, there's a coach. Let's invite him to add some color and analysis to the analysis of World Cup and the Euros. And I've covered a few tournaments with him, Musa Cisse. When we won all those trophies in Senegal, in Liberia, MS Jallo is here. Come to GRTS, coach. What's your story? Modu Gajia is here. QTV, the same thing. It's not just us coaches or the players who are part of it. You are all part of it as sports journalists. Moduba, the time that I was in Riyadh, the support, it's there. I can look at others and others. Lamin Federa is here, taking me on Afrisa. These things are very important. Othman, it's so key. And there's one person who I haven't mentioned yet, because there's a reason, because there's a story in terms of, we talked about ethics and all the skills that you have been taught in journalism. But here's a real life example for you. So I was working in the national team, and a player was not called, prominent player. I worked with that player before as well. We have a special relationship for sure, still to this day. And there was a media circus, I would say, to say that I'm the reason why he was not called to the national team, me as an assistant coach. All the stories. There's one sports journalist out of the whole country of Gambia who said, wait. Let me get the other side. That person, ladies and gentlemen, sports journalist, is your president now. So he was there coming to interview and taking the other side. And from there, I was able to set the record straight, put it behind me, and then continue. And look where we all end up. Yeah. For sure, this is really important, the job you are doing. And it's what I say to coaches, my fellow coaches, do not allow others to disrespect your profession. Do not allow others to disrespect your profession. The work you are doing is very, very important. And as you made the point about posting for players and doing different things, that helps. Agents see it, coaches see it. They'll call me and ask me, what do you know about this player that they're talking about in the Gambia media? Yes, this. And it comes from the work that you guys are doing on the ground. There's a player out there in Europe, prominent player. I'll leave you guys to do the work, but for sure he should be in the national team by now, for sure. I've worked in America. There's players there. They say, oh, how can we coach? How can we get to the national team? Do we have to know a journalist who, write stories for us and all this? I said, no, just do your work. Do your work. Get your goals, and then eventually somebody will find out.
Yes.
Somebody, the very best will eventually find it. In terms of, we talked about the value that you give. You are the guardians of the Gambian football, of sports in the Gambia. You are the guardians. Again, somebody spoke about 2 sides, 3 sides. There are 3 sides. I agree with that. I heard that quote also. You are the last lines for truth.
Yes.
You are the last line of the truth. Go to this side, go to that side, and then pull the full stop on the truth.
That's right.
That's all it is. But often you'll take one side because, oh, this one came, I know this one, and then you completely forget the other side. And then who knows what the truth is eventually. Soon we'll find it out. After all these years, the same player was hugging, was saying all these things. It was nonsense what they were saying. But it was also fueled by some people in your profession. And there was one amongst you, I can say for this story personally, that came and said, no, let me check the other side. And I can only thank him for that, and I can only thank all of you as well. For the work you do. Keep it up. All I would end on is just to say, when I go abroad and you look at the coverage and the topics that we have in the Gambia and the topics out in the West, it's really it's different, and it's all about development. So Denmark, US, England, they'll talk about really finite details to get to that next level. They're not talking about an assistant coach not picking a player. They're not talking about little things that don't matter, that are personal grudges, or they have no benefit to the wider society, to the wider country. So you have people making thought pieces. The article I talked to you about Famara, it was a thought piece. And he did not know, well, the coach read it and said, let me go and get my work done, because it serves as a motivation. It serves to galvanize and get your resources together. When we come back and MS has the interview with the players, with the trophies, they now use that as a platform when they go out abroad and they go to for their careers. If you guys were not there to cover, they will not have a story to tell.
That's true.
They will not have a story to tell.
That's
And I'll embarrass him now because maybe he remembers all. When I first came back to the Gambia and I was trying to get in touch with the technical department, and eventually I got through to the technical director at the time, who explained, go to the training ground, volunteer. You know who the first person who directed me was? It's Bakri Balde there. So not knowing own coaches, nothing else, it was a media professional, sports journalist, who was the one who opened the door. And I was able to go contact the technical director, and eventually the rest is history, as they say. So your work is so important. Thank you, keep it up, and all the best.
And now let's talk about the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. It has been very exciting looking at some of the matches when Senegal played against Zambia. Zambia are one of the favorites in this competition, and one of their top players scored twice, Barbara Banda, in this game. They defeated Senegal by 3-2. And to talk about that excitement, and also in the other game, there is Morocco playing against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Morocco are the host of the competition and they won 4-2. But to dissect on this and to give more details, Adedarami joins me in the studio. Organized by the Confederation of African Football and is currently underway in Morocco. There's been some very exciting matches. Well, Senegal played against Zambia, but it was a very close affair. And in the other game also, we've seen Morocco playing against the Democratic Republic of Congo. That scoreline also is very interesting. And a certain captain made the headlines. But For more details, Adedarami has been very much excited about this competition. Tell us.
I have been. I mean, it's 12 teams taking part, so there are 3 groups of 4 each. Morocco are hosting it for the second time in succession. And if people look at the thing and it says WAFCON 24, they think, hang on, this is not 2024. Because of COVID, it kind of interrupted the football calendar. And so even though it says it's taking place in 2025, it says, you know. And yes, Group A is the group to watch. In their first 2 games, there were 8 goals. In the second 2 games, there were 11 goals. The goals have not been so freely spread around across the various groups. South Africa are the defending champions, and they started with a confident victory, although took a penalty to get them up and running. But it's been really good. One has to say that, as you said, I've been following it closely. If there is one disappointment, and we have to be honest about it, is that the crowd sizes have been quite small in most of the games, apart from when the host Morocco are playing, and then they're playing to a packed stadium. So that is obviously something that gives them a boost, although it did give them a boost in their first game against Zambia. And of course, Zambia feature the fearsome Barbara Banda, who has kind of hit the ground running in this tournament, as everybody thought she would.
Yeah, in terms of play, has it been exciting in terms of possession of football, the goals that have been scored?
It's been really exciting, and Morocco had gone in with quite heightened expectations, because in the last edition, which as I said was held there, against expectations, they got all the way to the final, only to lose narrowly. And so, expectations were raised this time. So when they were taking on Zambia, even though Zambia have quite a strong team, many Moroccan fans thought that, their side would win, but it ended in a 2-2 draw. In their second game, of course, you mentioned that game against DRC, they won 4-2, and the score really was as tight as the scoreline sounds. It was a tight game, and the thing that's impressed me about this tournament is that almost every team has kind of raised their standards in women's football in a way that you didn't see in the last tournament. Yes, there were some good sides, but you take a side like Botswana, who nobody reckoned, really tough game. Took on Nigeria, and Nigeria needed 89th minute goal to win, albeit they parked the bus for the whole 89 minutes. They showed no interest in trying to get out of their own half and attacking. And, online fans who were commenting at the time, the Nigerians were saying, so I commented, I said, you play to your own strengths. If you're playing a strong team like Nigeria, with lots of attacking forwards who play for some of the biggest clubs in women's football, you're not going to be gung-ho and just go for it as if you can match them in terms of goal scoring. And so but they were so well organized. I was really impressed. And I have to be honest, one shouldn't say this, but I was hoping they'd get at least a draw from it, because the way how well organized they were, they deserved at least that.
Neighbours Senegal, who eliminated us in the qualifiers, how well did they fare? I think they won their first game.
4-0 in a scintillating performance, one has to say. And they won 4-0 against DR Congo. And I didn't get carried away, because DR Congo are one of the lower ranked teams. So yes, you beat them 4-0, but they looked impressive in beating them. And then of course everybody said, well, the test will be when they come against Zambia. And what a game it was. 3-2, and it really was as tight as it sounds. It was fantastic game. And the skill level is really, really, I know lots of men, people might call them chauvinistic or whatever, they say, the skill level in women's football is not as high as in men's. You wouldn't expect it to be, but I can tell you that, some of these teams, they really, really have come along a good way. And Morocco, the host, they obviously put a lot of money and funding into getting their team up to the standards that they are at, and they look really, really good. But Senegal, yes, I mean, they kind of more than met their match when they took on Zambia, and Zambia ranked higher than them. So maybe it wasn't a surprise, but it was a really close game, and it was a really exciting game.
Usually, women's football is being criticized for the standard of goalkeeping. Have you seen some easy goals scored?
That criticism is not about to change. One of the worst was in Nigeria's first game. And if you saw the crowds, the comments rather from fans, the most frequent comment was that the goalkeepers of these sides are going to be the ones that will end up losing their matches. Some of the goalkeeping was quite atrocious, like really, really bad, to the extent where I even posted at one point saying, how can this person be the #1 goalkeeper? Because of how badly the goalkeepers are playing. So yeah, the standard of goalkeeping has probably been the worst. But in every other aspect, in terms of skill level, in terms of organisation, midfield play, defensive organisation, it's gone up a notch. And as you rightly said, I follow the women's game quite avidly. And one of the reasons I do that is because I'd like to see African women make more of an impact on the world stage when it comes to the World Cup and so on. And that's one of the reasons why I always watch AFCON very, very avidly, and shame that, the likes of the Gambia can't be there. But it is alleged that the next edition will be expanded. So the likes of Gambia, the likes of Sierra Leone might get through. Sierra Leone did quite well in recent WAFU competition, as we know. But what we're seeing in this WAFCON, they're kind of slightly a standard above, certainly Sierra Leone and Gambia. Yeah.
Yes, when we talk about the defending champions, South Africa, how are they faring?
South Africa look very slick. One of my favorite players, Motlela, she is got to be one of the coolest players on the planet. And she took the penalty that kind of got them started in their first game. And she was so calm about it. And when she scored, she just went like that. So it's like, yeah, so what?
I'm just doing my job.
Everyone's going, exactly, I'm doing my job. Why is everybody going crazy, But they look a really good side, and they look kind of worth, they might even successfully defend their title. They've looked good. And the team's not changed that much. They missed a couple of important forwards who haven't been able to make it. We haven't been told why. They said for personal reasons she decided not to play. But they haven't looked like they're missing anybody. They look really, really well drilled. And Desiree Williams, the coach, they've retained their coach, as you would, because he won the competition. She's chosen pretty much the same side. I mean, it's only a couple of years ago that the previous edition was played, so you wouldn't expect a lot of changes. But that's the same with Morocco as well. They pretty much kept the same side that got to the final the last time. So South Africa, yeah, they look good for their money. I've been having lots of arguments with Nigerian fans, and if they'd watched the game against Botswana, they'll realize why I was saying that they're not favourites. Because they're actually ranked higher than South Africa at the moment, even though South Africa are the defending champions. And so because of that, there's a lot of heightened expectation. And somebody made a joke about, and I was discussing it with our colleague Babuka before I came down, he said that, there's this saying that of whom much is given, much is expected. And somebody said that with the underfunding of the women's team of Nigeria, it should be of whom little is given, much is expected. And that tells you how much it is. But we have to say that the winner of this year's WAFCON gets $1 million.
Yes.
So, prize money has gone up considerably. And also prize money, I saw, in fact, I intended to do, because I watched 1 hour, Motsepe, the CAF chairman, did a 1 hour press conference, and it was really interesting because a lot of the focus was on the funding, expanded funding in the women's game, not just for the likes of WAFCON, but the women's club competitions where they're trying to kind of stimulate club football across Africa and kind of, by extension, strengthen national teams, women's national teams across Africa. And so the money that's being injected, some eye-watering figures, several millions across all the various club competitions. So, things are looking good, and they're looking up because, sponsors are willing to come in. Total Energies, of course, sponsor the women's AFCON as they do the men's. So yeah, it's encouraging, and these are good times for women's football in Africa.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, Adedarami, for that aspect of women's football in Africa at the highest level. That's WAFCON, currently underway in Morocco. And there's been some exciting games. And we're looking forward to some of the games again, especially in the group phase, the final round of matches. That's going to be somewhat mouth-watering because some teams will definitely have to gear up their game to ensure they reach the knockout stages. Let's talk about Sengan Job. He's been a Gambian athlete and represented the Gambia at several international competitions. In Birmingham, they finished in the heats in the third position, where I covered alongside Ali Juf, alongside Ibrahim Kamara, and also other athletes. Well, Sengan Job has been competing for the Gambia, and recently he's been plagued with injuries, and those injuries has given him a setback in terms of competition, competing at the top level and also representing the Gambia. But he gave us details about how it feels to be injured as an athlete. In 2015, as a young athlete, he went to Mauritius and won a bronze medal for the Gambia in his category, and also even in the medley relay. Well said. Sengan Job have been a consistent athlete for the Gambia. Sengan, first, welcome to this interview.
Thank you, Oluwajaga. Thank you for this wonderful moment that you came out and reached out to us, the athletes, and it's really a pleasure that we really need these kind of things that each and every sport journalist should reach out to the sport personals, the ones that are representing the Gambia in the higher heights, to say what they feel and how things have been going through their journey and their past journey and the present journey. So this is really important. So I really thank you.
Yes, Sengan, first let's start. What's your current situation as an athlete? You're based in France and so you're on a scholarship to train, to better yourself as an athlete. But I understand within the period, you were also injured. And what happened?
Yes, my current situation as of now, I'm recovering anyway because I've been back home for like 3 months and I've did some local treatments and all. So currently, as of now, I can say at 75% of my recovery state. So I'm still good to go, but I've not still started competing yet. So I still want to take a bit, just like a little bit of time to compete, or maybe I might still wait for the next season to compete. And basically, as of now, I'm not on the scholarships because the scholarships have expired since after the Olympics, or I can say before the Olympics rather. So we're still waiting for the renewal to hear from our association and the Gambia National Olympic Committee, like the GNOC. So we have filled the forms anyway, but we are still yet to hear any response from them. So it should have started in June, but I had the information that the scholarships will be late. It will start in September. So anyways, we are still in the dark and still not heard anything yet from both sides from the association and the Committee Olympic.
Tell us about what type of injury are you suffering from?
I had a tendon and a hamstring, from both legs. So I competed with same injury in Ghana, whilst when we went for the African Games. So I have to drop my own personal event. Like I was supposed to go for the 200 meters, so I have to drop my own personal event to go for the relay, which was more effective. That I knew that we would have had a much more better opportunity, and not even we, but me myself, I would have been a very good support in the relay than me going for my own personal event than to injure myself more. So I competed with that injury in Ghana. And in Cameroon as well, I was still injured and I competed in both competitions. So anyway, it's still a tough journey, but I was still able to manage to do all these things whilst I was injured, and I'm still recovering. Although I don't know what's the cause of my injury, because I can train for a whole week or like 1 month, and before competition, I will start feeling my legs, and I don't really know what's up. So I have to come back home, see my mother, and the belief we have back home. So yeah.
Sengan, every athlete's dream is to get to the top level, represent your country at the highest level, compete with the best in the world. You have seen athletics, you have seen top coaches, and you've trained on top facilities. Tell us, what kind of support do Gambian athletes like yourself need from the authorities to get you to compete with the top level athletes in the world? Because I was at Birmingham when you competed. The third position that you guys get in the medley relay, and where your personal best, all of you together, yourself, Aliou Diouf, um, Ibrahima Kamara, and also Adama Jan.
Yes.
That
Yes.
competition was just fantastic. You guys got your personal best in international competition at that level for the Gambia. With a little bit of push, you would go to the next level. Tell us what kind of support would you need from the authorities to compete with the best right now?
Like I can say a lot of young talented athletes back home in the Gambia, despite the fact that we don't have training facilities, we don't have access to normal tracks. A lot of young Gambian athletes are looking forward up to us, especially I myself. Although what I normally say to these young athletes is that I cannot give, but I can say something that will benefit you tomorrow. So like anytime I come back home, I try to visit few schools that I'm familiar with to have like these training courses with these young training with these young athletes, and which is really appreciable from the school and from the coaches and all. And like we need, not like we cannot do it. We have the talent, we have the ambition, we have the dream. I have trained with different coaches. I have seen different athletes, and I've been to into different major competitions that like you would see your own opponent, and we ourselves will just know that with a little bit of spark, we can be in the top level. Like they are not better than us. They'll It's just that they have the more support. Like I can remember back in 2019 when we came back from Morocco. Okay, like according to the information we had, all of us, that the gold medalists will be awarded with a plot of land, and the rest of the team will be awarded with $50,000. And like few athletes got gold medalists. It was like the Gina Bass and I think Baijara and Seni, if I could remember. Those were the ones that got gold medalists and all. And the rest got silver, I think, came out that. And we broke the national record. You see, like Madagascar, but like we came back home and a plot of land was given to others, whilst we got the $50,000. And later on, I saw on the news that we were all given a plot of land. I myself did not receive a plot of land, and they are still saying that we received a plot of land, and I did not receive a plot of land. And like we have been into so many competitions where we break the national record and come back home, we don't even hear a thank you from anybody. And like it's really discouraging, and that all what we hear is that they are trying to look for the faulty one in the team. Like those that break the national record, how can there be a faulty one in the team? So like at least a little bit of thank you. We have been to competitions and come back home. Like a token of money was given to side and not the other side, and we still continue what we are doing. We have never voiced out how we feel and how things are going on. Like, yes, they are saying that we are giving scholarships, we are giving scholarships. But if we get that breakdown of our scholarships, like what we spend, and when this scholarship comes in, like even to send something back home, it's a problem. Like
Absolutely.
we, like,
Therefore, you
it's a
talk
problem.
about the
But
lack of support and the
yeah,
support that
there
you're
is this
supposed to
there
have,
is
you're
this
not
lack
getting
of
that.
support that there is this lack of support. These Ghanaians, these Cameroonians, they are not really better than us.
Yes, the Ghanaian right now who is dominating right now, in fact, there was a time he is second in the world in terms of 100
Yo,
meters, the ranking.
yeah,
You competed
Rashid
with that
Sami.
guy in
I
Birmingham. I was there.
I competed with him in Cameroon, in Cameroon. Rashid Saminu. We are friends on Instagram. We spoke from time to time. Like now he's second world lead in the 100 meters. Like they're not better than us. They just have the opportunity and the support. Like we just need a little bit of spark. We travel like four in number. Me, I myself, Ali Yusuf, Ibrahim Kamara, and Captain Adam Ajame. And we all need to do our own personal event, like individually, 100 and 200 meters, 100 and 200 meters. And we still have to concentrate on that 4x1. So we want to score a personal best and a podium on our own 100 and 200 meters event. And we still want to score like a national record and a podium in that 4x100 meters. Like it's a heavy bag for us. It's a heavy bag. We need a reserve team. We need like we need a self team, and we need like those who will be the backup team for us. Like we all cannot just take we the fourth like cannot just take Gambia forward.
Yeah,
And like
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't
like
happen
and
that
we
way because if you go to
yeah,
other country, you see
yeah.
they have substitute athletes, like you are
They
saying,
have
talking
substitute
about
athletes. So
backup athletes, and these
yeah,
youngsters
we
coming up. I think the likes of Lambase, and then you have the
Lambase,
others,
Keba
then you have
Makalo,
Suleiman Toure Z
Suleiman
currently,
Touré.
other young athletes who are coming up.
Yes.
Maybe they could be
The
used as backup to
these
you
so
guys.
not even talking about scholarships, but like we have the stadium. But for now, like I think 2 or 3 years, the stadium is being closed. We hear nothing about it. Hadn't been like the stadium was opened, we would have not been coming to France to train before competing. We would stay back home, train, and go out and compete. Like we have the climate. We have the climate. Like France is cold when it's like when it's winter. If your club doesn't have an indoor facility, you won't have a proper training outside the outdoor because it is cold, it is windy, it is raining. You have 3 different climate conditions that you have to train under if your club doesn't have an indoor facility. So like it's not really easy at all here in France. Like we travel back and forth just to beat our own goals, just to see our own goals achieved. Like and not like Gambia cannot do it. We can create our own center. We can create our own center. We have places, we have lands. Let our own associations lobby from the government. Like we want this place built for our athletes. We can live there. We stay there, and a transportation bus is provided for us. We go for training and come back to the training camp. Like we can build it for ourselves. But when we are depending always on the outside, things will not really work. And I can say Gambian athletics is not really going anywhere as of now.
Yes.
It
So
is
the lack
really
of
going
facility,
backwards. The lack
support
of
from the
facilities, like
administration, the authorities. And again, let's come back to
yeah,
your point. In fact, we're going to end on that. Your injury, what kind of support have you been getting from the authorities, if any, in terms of your
uh,
recovery?
not really. I haven't get any support. I have been treating myself. I have been treating myself with the help of my
This
club.
is from your own pocket to pay for rehab?
Yeah, I have been treating myself with the help of my club. Just recently that we have demanded some support from the ministry, which they did, support us. And thanks to that, yeah, I'm able to like facilitate a lot and pay for a lot that I was lacking. So, but I've been really helping myself on this. So, yeah.
Just on a final note, Sengan, what's your advice to young athletes of the Gambia coming up? Yes, you've been there at this level. You could go much better if the support is there. There's no doubt lots of talents in the Gambia, but for them to also reach your level, even past your level, what would you advise them?
Um, I would really advise them not to give up because it is a long journey anyway. This is the same place where I started from back in 2013, and we had no tracks. And like in 2013 to 2016, we had no tracks, and I was training on the sand in Serekunda West, where I was able to excel it, like to do my first international in Mauritius in 2015. Yet still, I did not give up from there. I still move on to proceed and like go to Senegal. So I would really tell them that those whom are really looking forward up to me, and those whom I talk to always, who contacted me, like seeking for advice and like what to do, either to do this or to do that. I would really tell them that not to give up. Let them still push. Let them still push, and like one day it will be their time. Like athletics is just the time. We will go out and they will come in. So they will be the ones that people will be talking about, not us again. We just leave our legacy, like what we did, what Gina Bass did, what Captain Adamada Jame did, or what I did. But they will continue. So let them just keep pushing, train, not to give up, not to hear like any side talks and all, because it's not really easy. Training in Gambia, going back home and forth when you're not working. So let them just keep on trying pushing, doing their level best.
Okay, Sanyal, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the
Okay,
best.
thank you, Modu
Looking
Bajaga.
forward
Thank you
to
so much.
meeting you again in another international competition.
Thank you so much, Modu Bajaga.
And finally, let's talk about Paris Saint-Germain. Are they currently the best club in the world? They dismantled Real Madrid by 4-0 in the semi-finals of the FIFA Club World Cup. That get them to the final, and in the final they're going to play against Chelsea. Joining me in the studio to discuss about that is Ade Darame, who looks at how good Paris Saint-Germain are and looking forward to the final. As far as Chelsea is concerned, is Paris Saint-Germain going to win all the way in the final, or can Chelsea cause a massive upset by defeating them in the final on Sunday? Now we're going to talk about Paris Saint-Germain. Well, the coach, Luis Enrique, talks about he would rather have a team where there is a player who scores 19 goals, a player who scores 20, a player who scores 16, and a player who scored 14 goals in combined, rather than having a player who scores 40 goals a season.
And we know what he means.
We know what he means. He's talking about a certain Kylian Mbappe,
of course,
who has been obviously fantastic player, arguably one of the best players in the world.
Absolutely.
He showed it when he was at Paris Saint-Germain as team captain. Season in, season out, he will go maybe 40 goals plus, or sometimes at least 35 goals a season.
Yes.
But when he left the club, going to Real Madrid, of course, which is the darling of club football in the world, every player wants to play for them.
Seemingly, yeah.
It means Paris Saint-Germain became better under Luis Enrique. And apart from winning the Champions League now in the FIFA Club World Cup, it is Real Madrid that they humiliated to reach the final.
And
are they the best team?
They are right now. I think that's sort of without a doubt. In fact, some people joke that it's not a case of are they the best team, who is second best is what the conversation should be. That's how good they've looked, both in winning the Champions League and of course, as you rightly say, yes, it wasn't just Mbappe. We know the famous MSN forward line, Messi, Neymar, it's you had Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi. And they didn't win the Champions League when everybody thought, oh my God, this team is so good, they must win the Champions League. And then when Neymar left, people were kind of worried for them. But what it did was it created a better balance in the team. And people who felt they were in the shadow, like Dembele, people who felt they might be in Mbappe's shadow, I beg your pardon, suddenly blossomed. Everybody wasn't looking for Mbappe. They were looking for each other. And if you saw some of the goals, you said 4-0, it could have been 7. That's how bad. I mean, I watched it because it's on, if anyone want to watch. I had said I wasn't going to watch this competition, but because of PSG, I've been drawn to this competition because I felt like it was kind of one competition too many, players are tired and so on, but they haven't looked like they were tired. And they have looked a class above everybody else. The balance in the team is fantastic. The wing-backs attack. And as for Hakimi, I don't even know what position that guy plays because he's everywhere.
One point you're a defender, the other point you're in midfield, and then
the next you're on the wing crossing for somebody to score. Yeah, the guy is amazing, and that's what you have in the team. It's a fantastically well-balanced team, and there are no weaknesses in the team. We heard about, Donnarumma, but even he's made some fantastic saves. They've looked a really, really good team. So yes, right now, in short answer to the question, they are the best team in the world. Although, you and I know how funny football can be. They might get to the final and lose to Chelsea. But against my kind of criticism of the tournament, originally I was only going to watch the African teams just to see how well they did. And they didn't do too badly. None of them were disgraced in this competition. But once they were out, I thought, PSG look really good. Let me see if they're as good as they seem to be and whether they can go all the way. And of course, they're now through to the final where they'll face Chelsea.
PSG scored 15 goals against some of the best clubs in the world. 5 against Inter Milan, 4 against Real Madrid, Manchester City.
Yeah.
And then you talk about Atletico Madrid, 4-0.
Right.
Oh my God.
And these are teams who,
Bayern Munich.
I was going to say to Bayern Munich, and they were down to 9 men, and Bayern still could not beat them, in that game. And they had 2 men sent off.
Sent off, yeah.
And even when they were down to 9, they still scored another goal against a good team like Bayern, and that tells you how good they are. So they haven't had an easy route to the final. It's not like they made things easy. They've beaten some of the best teams in the world, and they're there. And they haven't just beaten them, they've beaten them well. They've looked really good against, and some of these teams, this has been like a serious reality check. They would have left this competition thinking, I'm glad I'm not in the same league as these guys, because what chance have I got? And as for Ligue 1, I suspect teams in France have already gone like, you know what, you guys just give them the
trophy.
title.
That's
how good they've looked. I mean, football can be funny and things can change. You never know. But every now in football, you and I know, teams come along where it just happens to be their time. It's happened with Real Madrid. It's happened with Barcelona. Way back in the days of the Dutch guys at AC Milan, it happened with them. And they just looked a cut and a class above everybody else. And that is currently the state with PSG. As I said, a guy like Gonzalo Ramos, he's on the bench half the time. And he still managed to get 19 goals this season, coming pretty much from the bench. And he will be a starter in almost any other team. And that's the strength of this team. So, yeah, they look awesome
and some
right
of
now.
them are youngsters, the likes of Desiree Doué, Barcola.
I mean, Desiree Doué, one of the kind of footwork he did that led to the first goal against Real Madrid, where Dembele was brought down for what would have been a penalty.
Maybe probably even a red card.
Well, that's right, yeah. And then of course they followed up to score. Fabian Ruiz scored. Just fantastic player. As you said, they're a young side, and that's the kind of scary thing about them, because some of them they're nowhere near their prime yet, and look how good they are. They really look good. I mean, Real Madrid in that game that they lost 4-0, they looked like a team of old men. I know Modric was playing, but he came on as a sub late in the day to play what turned out to be his last game. And I think we need to mention Modric for being such a fantastic servant, particularly at Real Madrid. It's like people have always forgotten that he was at Spurs
at some point,
yeah. Because of what 4 Champions Leagues at Real Madrid. So that ended up being his last game for Real Madrid. So in his case, he's 39, and you could say, yeah, he's an old man. But the rest of them are not. People like Jude Bellingham, people like Vinicius Junior. These are young guys.
Yes.
They made them look old in that game.
They're just chasing shadows.
When was the last time you saw a team have 80% of the ball against Real Madrid?
Yeah,
that's
training
unheard
ground
of.
drills.
Yeah, that's unheard
basically.
of. And that's how good they were. They really look awesome. But, other teams can either buckle under and say, we can't, or make you want to raise your game and say, that's the standard we need to reach. Because they have set the standard right now.
Quickly, on the final against Chelsea, you've watched Chelsea play. How good are they? Is this a Paris team that either you can park the bus and hit them on the counter, or Chelsea can come up with a game plan in which they would be able to stand up to Paris Saint-Germain at the moment?
Maresca, the coach has impressed me with how he's gone about his business. It seemed kind of haphazard. In the last 2 years, they've spent 600 million just on forwards. Okay, and so people will say, well, maybe because of that, they should be where they are. And in a final, anything can happen. When Manchester United beat Man City in the FA Cup final, nobody gave. I remember 10 of the British newspapers. I read them that day. I wanted to see what their prediction was. Not a single one of them tipped Man United to win. And it will be the same. But football can be funny like that. 1990 World Cup, you and I remember Cameroon beating Argentina, defending champions. Nobody saw that. When Senegal beat France in
2002 World Cup.
2002 World Cup. So football can turn up these funny results, but I'm telling you, if Chelsea manage to beat them, it will be a shock because of how good the current PSG team is. But football.
And in the other way around, on their day, if Paris really have it their way, Chelsea could be humiliated in a final.
This is it. And I see people making fun and doing a hashtag pray for Chelsea hashtag. But football doesn't work like that. And you're right. I mean, if Paris Saint-Germain turn up as they've turned up for the whole of the rest of the competition, then it could be quite a chastening, experience for Chelsea that will leave them as I said, with Real Madrid coming off the pitch looking like, you know, they'd aged several years in the space of 90 minutes.
Looking forward to a big final on Sunday. It's going to be fantastic. You can't miss that. Chelsea against Paris Saint-Germain.
And I think it's worth telling people very, very quickly, it's free.
Yes, it's free to air. Yeah,
DAZN.
Yeah,
so,
DAZN is on, on an app, and also on YouTube. You can watch the matches live.
You can watch it online, on your phones or on your laptop or computer, whatever. It's free, dazn.org. Or you go to FIFA, and there's a link from the FIFA website to it saying, you know, click on free. And it's free. It's free to air.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Adedarami, for your
Pleasure.
time. Thank you. Well, that's it for Qsports. Thank you very much for watching. Join us next week at the same time for more sports. Bye.